Hello, everyone. My name is Preston Dennett, and welcome to a new episode of UFOs and the Paranormal. I've got a very special show for you today. Today, I'm going to be talking about my new book, Symmetry, which is all about a fully conscious contactee by the name of Dolly Saffron, who you see right here. Say hi, Dolly.
Hello. Okay.
So, Dolly, some of you may have read the book already. It's an amazing story about her lifelong experiences with Greys and other ETs and all the things she's learned and experienced. And today is just going to be a kind of introduction to her experiences. And I'd like to cover basically her experiences from when she, 10 months about, all the way up to age 14, in particular experience at age 14, when she fully woke up to what was happening to her. So that's going to be what we're going to talk about today. I think it's really an amazing and important case, and I'm so happy that Dolly has agreed to come onto the show today. So let's just start by introducing Dolly and having her tell a little bit about herself and where she was born and so forth. So that's okay, Dolly?
Yes.
Take it away. Tell us just a little bit of background.
I was born in Georgia, just outside of Fort Benning. I was here for 2 weeks, and then my parents put me in the back seat of the car in a pram that comes off the wheels, like an English pram. And we didn't have seatbelts. They just put me back there, and we drove to Miami. We ended up on, they had rented an apartment on Biscayne Boulevard, and that was my first home after I was 2 weeks old. My life was very adventurous, and I moved to a lot of different places. I've lived on a dairy farm. I've lived in Coconut Grove next to a warlock. I've lived in a place called Westwood Lakes, and we lived on a lake, which was driving my parents crazy. We ended up going to Wisconsin for a short time and then coming back to Florida. That's how we did the dairy farm on my grandparents. Then we moved all the way out to the Everglades, and we had a ranch and had cows and a couple of them and Brahma. Mostly just spent my life doing chores and playing with animals. We had dogs, and when we started getting the big dogs, I had cats when I was really, really small. But then once we got the big dogs, the cats didn't stay with us. They stayed outside barns, no more house. My parents were busy doing things, like my dad was working all the time, and my mom was into the St. Bernard Club of South Florida. She and my dad started it. So I used to go to dog shows, and I was a junior handler and then a senior handler. I did Girl Scouts and all that kind of stuff. I just grew up.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So you had your mom and your dad, your little brother, living out in the Florida Everglades. And like many contactees, you have an amazing memory. So that is something I've heard before. And I'd just like to start with your first real conscious recall. I think it was at 10 months where you're in your crib.
Yes, we were still living in the apartment on Biscayne Boulevard, and I saw a big light come through the window. I'm supposed to be sleeping, and I'm staring at it, thinking, "What is that?" And all of a sudden, I start levitating in my crib. And when I got up to about the top bar, I thought, "Oh my God, where am I going now?" And I flipped over. I wouldn't have anything to do with it. I tried to go back down. I'm grabbing the bars, and that's the last thing I remember. I blanked out. My memory of that moment ends right there.
Yeah, and that's when you started sticking your leg out of the crib bars to stop.
Yes, that was not going to happen to me again. I decided, that's right. 10 months old, and I knew that if I stuck my leg through that's what I thought, I would not levitate.
That's so cute. And your parents actually took a picture of it.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. It was just comical. Sometimes they'd see me with both legs hanging all the way out. Just my body'd be sideways in the crib, and I'd be hanging all the way up. my legs,
Right.
you know.
Okay. And
Um,
at age 2, you had an experience where you disappeared from the house?
yeah, leading up to that, I knew I had my first inkling that something was going on when I found out my mom was pregnant. And that's about when it happened the first time. She was just pregnant, and I disappeared. I I have a sketchy memory of how I got out. I was in my bedroom and I was coloring. Okay, supposed to be taking a nap, but I was coloring. And the next thing I know, I'm going levitating, and I'm going through my roof. No preamble, no nothing. I'm going through the roof, and something's got me by the hands. Okay. Um, I end up in a craft, and they're like messing with my memory at that point. Okay, they're trying to calm me down because I was a hellion, and if I didn't like you, you knew it instantly. Okay, and they calmed me down because I had had tonsils out just before my second birthday, and no, yeah, somewhere around in there. I was young, and when I was in the hospital, my dad said if I was a good girl, he'd give me a big red balloon, and he did. It was ginormous. It was almost bigger than me, and they tied it to the foot of my bed, and I had that balloon for a whole week. Okay, I love red balloons. So while I was on board, they all promised me a red balloon that I would get one if I cooperated. Well, okay, fine, yeah, I'll cooperate. And it's all blurry to me. You know, things happen very rapidly. And then they took me back. I thought I was going home, and nope, I came out behind the store. It was grass all around and stuff like that. Back in those days, there's hardly any buildings. Florida was very sparse, you know. And this little Utotem store was like all by itself on a part of the road. And when they let me out, they said, "Bye bye, go get your balloon. It's in there." And I'm walking around the store in the grass, and I walk up on the concrete part, and I'm looking in the door, okay, in the glass, like this. And the guy saw me, and he's like looking around. Now I'm wearing underwear, no shoes, no nothing. And he's like, "Where the hell, what's going on?" And when he realized that I was wanting in and I was starting to get upset, I cried. He opened the door and he's like, "Who are you?" And I said, "My name is Dolly." He said, where's your mama? And I said, "I don't know." And he said, "How did you get here?" And I'm like, "I want a red balloon." I mean, I immediately went to the red balloon. "Where's my red balloon?" "You're supposed to know I'm supposed to get this red balloon." He
Wow.
put me on the countertop, and he gave me a little cup full of blue liquidy, like an icy. It was an icy. I don't think it was blue. I want to think it's blue. I don't think it's blue. I think it was Sprite. Okay, and it was a blue cup, and it looked blue. And I took a sip, and I didn't like it because it was too bubbly, and I'm really freaking out. And he decided to call the cops. And that's when the cops got notified where I was because they were already looking for me. My mother was already hysterical and called, the police herself. And for 2 hours, they were looking for me. So I guess in my mind, I was gone about that amount of time, okay, with them. Because in my mind, I was there. They promised me the red balloon. They talked to me or did stuff, and then they dropped me down. Uh, but it didn't
Wow.
feel like, uh,
So, so yeah, you were missing for like 2 hours or something, and your
yeah, a
parents were
little
going
over 2 hours.
crazy.
Yeah,
And so I guess
yeah,
that happened uh,
yeah,
uh, more times after that, and your parents put locks on the doors and the windows, bought a guard dog.
yeah, Heidi.
Still didn't help. You kept disappearing.
Yeah.
But at this point, you weren't thinking UFOs or ETs,
I had
right?
no clue. Yeah,
All right.
I was dreaming all this stuff somehow. Okay, that's what I thought. Um, my mom, I love my mom. Okay, but back in those days, we could run around and do anything. I mean, you could disappear, in the front yard, or you could go down the street if I had a friend and stuff like that. And uh, how it happened is there was a vacant lot next to our house where we lived in Westwood Lakes, and had lots of trees on it and stuff. And I made like a little nest, and they would grab me there when I was outside. So I was going with them that way. I just thought I was dreaming. I mean, one minute I would be there, and then I'd be somewhere else, and then I'd be back. And I
Right.
just never thought about it. That's Westwood Lakes. Then in the Everglades, they would come at night, you know. Sometimes I'd see grays coming in, and I'd think, okay, okay. And but I didn't. They were covering my memories. In other words, they were shocking me short. I was trying so hard to remember, but I couldn't. It just. And then when I started talking to my mom about it, she really thought I was dreaming. I mean, I'm the kid that talked about King Kong coming to get me and flying and doing all this kind of stuff, and she just said, "You're dreaming. You're dreaming." Okay.
Right, right. So,
She. Okay.
so you also had, while all this is going on, you're also having, precognition,
Yes.
talking about things that are going to happen.
Yes.
You had an instance with telekinesis.
Yes.
Can you describe that briefly?
Okay. I was a teenager. I was about 12, and my dad used to take me to the University of Miami all the time. He was doing some
Oh,
restoration work.
yeah. Actually, I'm talking about the time where you were at home and the hat boxes, I think it was. So a lot of
Oh,
people.
that one. Okay. I was young. I was about, I don't know, 4. Yeah, I was 4. My Aunt Barbara, my Uncle Don, and my cousins came over. And my aunt was mad at my cousin Sharon, who was older than me. She was mentally retarded, okay? And I got mad at her. Sharon ran in my room to hide with me, and she came in screaming at her. And it upset me. I got really pissed off. And my door to my closet in my bedroom flung open, and all my mother's hat boxes, which were in the top of it, flew straight at her head. And
Uh,
screaming ensued. Pandemonium, they ran, they left. Okay, it was all my aunt could take. Uh,
yeah, well,
mem-
that's what I wanted to mention because this is something that does turn up with a lot of contactees is a wide variety of paranormal events. So here you are, you're seeing spirits, you're having precognition,
yeah,
telekinetic events. You had
yeah,
an event involving levitation as well. Can you just
right.
describe that real quick? I think you were like what, 2, 3 years old?
Yeah, it was right after my brother was born, and I was lonely and bored because she was taking care of him. I was jealous of him at first, and all I wanted to do was play hide and seek because my mom would always play hide and seek with me. Okay. And I kept looking in the top of the closet, and I decided that was the best spot in the house. She would never find me there. Only I couldn't get up there. No chair was tall enough, no nothing. And I would sit in the hallway and just stare at that door and think, I want up there, I want up there, I want up there. I'm going to get up there. I was already playing around with the idea that I could fly. And dang it, if I didn't do it, I mean, it felt like something suddenly I was being lifted up, you know? It's a strange feeling. My body was following me. I don't know how to describe that at that age, okay? But that's what it felt like. My body was following my head. And I got up there and I threw the door open and I went in. I shut the door and I started laughing my butt off because I thought it was funny. And I hear, Dolly, Dolly, where are you? Dolly. And she went by that closet at least 50 times. She looked under everything. I know she did. Then she got mad. Come out right now. I got mad. I laughed harder, okay? I thought it was hysterical. And one of those laughs, she heard me. And she looked up and she said, You better not be up there. And I'm thinking, Well, I am. And she got a chair because she was too short, even. And she flung that door open. And there I was. I
Wow.
don't know if she was screaming at me or what, or just screaming because she went, ah. And she pulled me out and she's hanging onto the wall and slinking down to the floor off the chair. She sat me down. She sat on the floor with me and stared at me really hard.
Wow. See, this
Yeah.
is really, really interesting because this is something other contactees have told me about, even from a very young age, levitating. And of course, I know you've had further instances of both telekinesis
Yeah.
and levitation, but really what I want to get into next, because there's a lot, and we could talk about just the paranormal stuff for hours. But you had a really profound experience where you age 6, I think it was right after you had gone to see the movie Mary Poppins with your
Yep.
family.
Yep.
You're out in the front yard watching the clouds, laying under the ficus
Yeah.
tree,
I
and
was dreaming and thinking about the movie actually. And I was singing the songs. I have an eidetic memory, so I learned songs instantly. And I was singing the song, stay awake, don't close your eyes. That one. And
wow. I love the music in that movie. I know all the
Yes, I
songs.
did too. I did too.
That
And all of a
amazing.
sudden I look up and I'm looking at a particular cloud that looked like a bunny rabbit, okay? And the next thing I know, I see this umbrella come over me. It sort of like came from my right and moved over to the left over me, and it was rotating. And I'm trying to see the handle, because if it's Mary Poppins umbrella, it's got a parrot on the end of it, okay? You know, remember the parrot?
Yeah.
And I'm looking for it. I'm thinking, where's the parrot? Who is this? You know, what's going on? And it came down, and I hear the music from the movie coming down with it. And I'm like, what the heck? And then I black out. And the next thing I know, I wake up and I'm in this place. It was all different. I mean, it's not like you see when you're at home. You know, you got furniture and you got stucco or drywall or bricks or whatever. I mean, it was not from here. Okay. And I'm looking at this woman that I'm sitting in her lap and I'm thinking, God, she's interesting as hell. I started staring at her really hard. She had no hair nowhere. Okay. She didn't even have eyebrows. Okay. She had the biggest eyes I've ever seen, ever. And they were blue green. And she's staring at me. And I don't see her mouth move, but I can hear her. And she's saying, Hi, Dolly. Hi, Dolly. You can call me Mama. I'm going to take care of you while you're with me. And she said, can I have a hug? And I'm like, I'm thinking about that, do I, don't I? And she went to grab me a little bit, and I thought, oh, well, what the hell? I love hugs. So I gave her a hug. Um, I got to put my hand up and touch her face. Okay. And I realized that her skin is not like mine. It is different. When you're hairless and you have no hair on your skin, your hand doesn't go over your skin quite like it does because you have hairs on your body everywhere. Okay. And it makes the transition over your skin smooth. Okay. You kind of glide over your own hair. She didn't have any. And it felt like leather. Okay. Not thick, heavy, dried leather like you felt off a cow that was tanned, but soft, fluffy leather. And I was amazed, and I kept trying to touch her face. And then she was holding my hands, and I'm trying to touch her arms. I'm like, I became so into the fact that she was that different, okay? And I'm staring at her, and she said, I want you to understand something. And I'm staring at her, and she says, you're related to me. We're related. Do you understand what that means? And I'm trying to understand what she means, and she put it in my head. I'm related. She's family to me. She made me quite understand that. I'm family, okay? And she said, I want to teach you something. She said, this is how we greet in our family. And we touched foreheads, and she inhaled when she did it. And I was mimicking her, so I inhaled too. I inhaled. And I realized, oh my God, I can smell her, okay? It was very, very pleasant. It made me feel good to smell her somehow. And I realized after that, for many years, that I could smell her in a room over everybody else. I knew her smell. And I didn't realize how potent that was until I had my own child and realized that I could tell my child from everybody else by her smell as well. I could smell the familial. It's familial. You know how a lion can smell its own cubs? The father, he knows these are my
Oh, yeah.
babies. I can smell her genetics. And it struck me profoundly when I realized that years later that, oh my God, I was family. I am family. She is my family. I'm related to her for real.
Yeah, that's
Um,
definitely a thing. I saw a show on Nature where there was thousands of wildebeests, and the mother had lost her baby and finally found her by smelling out of
right.
thousands upon thousands of them. It was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. It's amazing. I guess it just freaked me out. That's a talent I have. I have an acute sense of smell. Okay. I can smell anything. Uh, she, uh, she was different from everybody on board because, uh, they were all wearing like skin suits. And, she had on a gingham dress, like Little House on the Prairie. It was
Oh,
very
wow.
pretty. It was very colorful. And I was touching it and fingering it. It was pure wool. Okay. It wasn't anything artificial, no cotton, no nothing. It was wool. And I know the difference between animal hair and cotton, and it was wool. And she played with me. We talked, and she let me look at her hands. She's only got 4 fingers, 4 toes. She let me see her feet, and we just sort of introduced ourselves to each other that way. She saw my hands, and she looked at my hair, and she felt my hair, and she told me I was pretty, and
Wow.
it was just a bonding thing going on. Okay. And then she said, we have to part now, you have to go back. And she touched my forehead again, smelled me, and I don't remember anything after that until I woke up in my living room with my
Wow.
mother just walking around the corner. This gets weird for me. I think my mother saw the flash of light. I think my mother knew something was going on in the living room, and that's why she showed up like she did, because she was very harried when I saw her. Okay. And she said, how did you get in here? And I'm looking at her now. I know better. You got a mother who's strict, stern, when she's upset. And I just went, I don't know. What are you talking about? What? And I'm
Just
6 years old. Don't ask me to explain. And she used to go through the house and check on me after that. My mother became overly uh, worried about where I was and what I was doing. She didn't let me. I mean, she protective. Oh my God. Okay.
Hey, that's totally understandable.
Yeah.
Okay, but so from that point on, were taken more, during while outside and
Broad
in,
daylight. Yep. And at night. Yep.
and time went on, and I know
Right.
you became more and more uh, determined to figure out what was going on. You're
Yes.
trying to figure out whether you're going crazy, trying to
Yeah.
connect the
Well.
dots here, what's going on, and we move up
Yeah.
to age 14, and
Yep.
you're just really ready, determined to figure out what
Yeah.
this aspect of your life means.
Right.
And so it's 1973, you're 14 years old, and you're out in the backyard with the telescope watching stars. And
Right. I
this
was
is
doing
when,
homework. Yeah. Yeah.
and this is when, I mean, this is the big event that I really wanted to, this is really why I wanted to do this episode today, because this is the big event that really woke you up to things.
Yeah.
So tell us what happened when you're looking through the, your, well, let me just start here.
Well,
Your dad comes out and says, go to
no,
bed.
he didn't come out.
and
He was in the house. All the
um,
jalousies were open. We didn't have air conditioning then. Okay. So the windows were all open and I could hear him. Where I was with the telescope was right behind their room. Okay. And I heard him out the window, go to bed. I'm like, okay, it's school night. So I packed my scope down and I went in my room and I changed my clothes, got ready for bed, got my drink of water, the whole thing. And I'm not going to sleep. Okay. I'm a night, I'm up all the damn time. So I just decided to keep looking at the stars. It was so pretty that night. No clouds, no nothing. Beautiful, beautiful. You could see everything. We had very low light pollution, almost no light pollution. I could see the Milky Way. Okay. Orion was up, and I love Orion. I've always loved Orion. I don't know why, I just have. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking up and I'm like, wait a minute. Orion's got a lot of stars, okay? But there's wide spaces in between the different major star bodies of Orion. And I'm looking, I'm like, wait, there's just way too many stars up here. And I'm looking at them, I'm thinking, what am I looking at, And then they're moving. And they all kind of came into a clump. And then they paired off in twos. And then they went east, west, north, and south, okay? They just dispersed. 2 of the pair came down over where I lived. One of them, as it approached, went east toward Deadland Mall in Kendall. And then the other one came down over our property and over the back of our house. It was changing colors. It came down when it was up out of the, in space, it was white, okay? But in plasma look, it was big, fluffy looking. As it came down through the atmosphere, it started changing colors. The first color it turned literally was a reddish orange, and then it got more yellow orange, and then it got more yellow, and then it turned green, and then it turned blue, and then I saw the metallic of it. I saw that it was metallic, and we had trees behind my room, and they're the prayer trees, you know, where the leaves, if the wind touches them, they fall down, or if you blow on them, or if you touch them, they close up. And the tree was just whipping in the wind, and I'm like, there's no wind, what am I looking at? And then I look at this craft, and I'm thinking, and I'm trying to remember it now, okay, because I know this is my only chance. This is not insane to me. I know that I'm seeing this. I can almost smell the daggone thing, and I know it's there. I can see it. It's swaying and it's dipping, you know, every so often. So I start memorizing this craft. And I went from the bottom to the top, and when I got to the top, there's ports, okay? They go like this, not round, but, you know, like that. And then I realized I'm looking at the bottom of it, and it's not perfectly round. It's kind of not perfectly spade shaped, but something like that, akin to it, okay? And one of the times that it really dipped down, I saw two creatures in the windows, one in each window, and they were staring at me. And I had about 3 seconds of realization because I'm staring at them hard. I mean, hard because I was trying to memorize everything. And I realized, you know, I don't know about this because they were different. I mean, they were really, really, really different. They had huge heads, huge. And I went, no, I'm not dealing with this. And I turned and I was going to dive under my bed because my bed was right there. Okay. And I made the pivot and I looked down, and then my whole room exploded in blue, white light. So bright, I closed my eyes and I could see the light through my eyes like I was in a room with my eyes open. And I went totally blacked out, okay? I woke up a few hours later. I was on my floor. I was not wearing my clothes. They were not properly, you know, they just were inside out, backwards, the whole thing. I was like, oh my God. I got mad. I started crying because,
so this was someone else's pajamas.
yes, yeah, not mine. I'm not even sure they were for a girl, to be honest with you. They were just PJs, okay?
All right.
So I can hear my mother in the kitchen, and I'm really upset. And I know what, you know, I've got to go get ready for school. So I went to the shower, took a shower. I stupidly threw them away in the garbage can in my room, tied the bag up, and by the time I was making it to the kitchen and throwing them away as I walked in the door, because the camera's right there, I realized that, oh, wait a minute, these aren't my clothes, you know? And I started attaching to the fact that, oh my God, I had a real experience. This is not a dream. I have tangibility in my hand, okay? And I ignored it because my mom, I didn't want to go and grab them out because my mom was in the kitchen. I didn't want her to see me do it. And she said, make coffee. So I made coffee, you know, it was my job to make coffee when I was around. And I sat down and I was like, okay, I got to talk about this. This is tangible. I cannot, you know, who else am I going to tell this to? And so I said, Mom, did you see anything last night? Did you see lights? Did you hear anything? You know, I was thinking about maybe they thought the trees were whipping around. Maybe they thought wind, whatever. And she said, what are you talking about? And I said, you know, like a UFO. And after years of this with my mother, there was no way, you know. She turned around, pointed at me, and she said, no, no, and turned back around. Well, I got really despondent, angry, freaked out, and I immediately began thinking, how the hell am I going to convince her that we need to have this conversation and it's real? I was going to pull the clothes out of the can, okay, and show them to her. We never got to that because the radio switched to the news from Paul Harvey, and the first thing out of the guy's mouth was, 2 Dadeland police officers saw a UFO last night at 1:30 in the morning about, and they described it perfectly. This officer's statements were, he read their statements, okay, and it was basically they saw them coming down, they saw them pairing off, 2 of them came down over them, and one of the officers got razzed in his car twice. They were
Amazing.
very, very freaked out. Okay. I lost my stuff. Okay. I went berserko. It's the only word for it. I started crying. I started screaming. I was like sweating. My heart was pounding in my chest. There's a lump in my throat. And I'm like, Mom, this is real. This is real. You heard him on the radio, you know? And she whirled on me and she said, that was a dream. Get out of the kitchen now. I never argued with her when she got like that. There was no point. So I got up, shaking, angry, freaking out, going, damn. And my dad was just walking in and he said he heard the whole thing. He told me, you know, go calm down, go meditate, do something. You're over the top. You know, you can't be like this. You're never convinced her like this, never. Okay. And so I thought, okay. So I went in the bathroom, I turned the light out, locked the door for privacy, and sunk to the floor. And I spent a good while in there just trying to go back over the whole thing. It was real. It was real. Okay. And I replayed it from the minute I saw those stars and to the minute that light hit. And when I got to where the light hit, I was visualizing it in my mind. I could see it. And then suddenly I saw the beam. It's an energy ribbon that comes down. It's huge. And it twists, you know. And I saw the two beings in the cockpit of that craft came down that ribbon. And I was frozen. I couldn't move. I mean, I kept trying to. I was going to like fling myself to the floor, you know, anything, swing on them, you know, just anything. And could not.
All right. So before we get into all of that, let me just skip through a little bit here.
Okay.
Because you went to school, your best friend had seen a UFO. That was further confirmation.
Yes.
Your teacher hooked you up to a biofeedback machine.
Yes.
Put you into, I guess, alpha waves or delta.
Yeah.
And
he taught me how to do that. Yeah.
So that helped your memories along. You ended up going home from school that day, leaving,
Yeah.
and pretty much recalled the whole thing.
Right.
And so basically what I'd really like to hear, because this is really what I want to get into, is this whole experience at age 14, where you recalled these grays coming into your room.
Yeah.
They grab you, you go up the beam, and
Right.
what's that like? What happened once, you know, they came into your room?
He came up to me and he took me by the hand. He's so much shorter than me, okay? And he put his arm around me, kind of, sort of, you know, he put his arm up. It touched, his hand got to my waist. He's way below me anyway. I'm almost 5'7" at that age, okay? Damn near 5'8". And suddenly I'm moving with him somehow, okay? I think he levitated me somewhat. I think that he levitated me somehow because I don't remember walking across the floor. I went with him though. And he placed my hand with his hand above my hand onto the beam. And poof, everything changed. I became weightless. I saw light, like we were enveloped in light. And we started going up. And he was like pulling us along. He was somehow, it wasn't you had to manipulate the beam somewhat to go higher and higher and higher, okay? But you had to stay in contact with it, I guess, because suddenly I'm going through the roof of my room. When we got to the ceiling, I cringed because I thought, oh my God, I'm going to hit my head. Never happened. Went right through it. I saw dust particles in the light. I smelled something funny. I saw the rock. Our roof was a rock roof, okay? In Florida, they're like that. They're little pebbly rocks on your roof. And I saw the rocks on the roof going up through it. And then I saw the tree and I'm thinking, uh-oh, we went through the tree like it was nothing, okay? Big pieces of bark went right through it. Went up and I'm like looking around me and I realized that I'm up in midair and I look up and I saw the bottom of the craft, but we went up, the ribbon went up around the side of it and they had a door open. And it's not a square door like this. It's octagonish looking, okay? And the door was not there. I mean, you know, you usually see a door go open, close, inward or outward, right? Nothing there, just the opening. And when we got to it, he shoved me in feet first. Okay. And I landed on my keister on the floor. And he came in, and the other one came in right behind him. And the door suddenly, magically, in my mind, was back. It was there. Okay.
It closed up, you mean?
Yeah. And it did something weird. All I know is that it was there. Okay. I'm already in shock, bad shock. I turn because I feel somebody over here, and I look at this woman, and my memory, I instantly knew who she was. It's like every time I realized that every time I went with them, I would wake up and know who they are. My memory would reconnect, okay? And it would be 5 minutes of, holy crap, and oh my God, only this time was worse. This was the worst time of it all because my memory went from that moment of seeing her and knowing who she was all the way back to the beginning of my life, all the way back to the day I rode in the bloody car with my parents going to Florida in my pram, okay, in the back seat. I remembered everything. It hit me so hard. I had a migraine the day before, or, I get migraines every now and then when I was young. They don't know why. I outgrew them, okay? Um, but then I had a migraine, a worse migraine. And I'm staring at her and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm so glad to see you. She was glad to see me. And I puked all over myself. I had just enough time to grab my Jamie shirt and puke right into it. And I'm staring at her with puke everywhere. And I start shaking like I'm coming out of shock, okay? And they're like, hold on, don't move, don't move. And the two Grays came back with paper stuff, some towels, whatever, and wrapped it around my hands and my waist and like pushed it all up against me with the paper and took me to a decontamination room and made me strip. they put me in a bath thing, to rinse me off. They gave me something to what hair I had. I had really short hair back then. And then they put me in a smaller room that had a shower like on it, and it was spraying this light all over the place. And I guess that was my first memory of actually being in the contamination beam. I knew what it was, but it decontaminated me. All the germs were gone once it got done with me. They gave me a smock to wear, like a little dress, and it went down to my knees. And I was feeling it, and I realized that it was substantial, but not. It felt like you could throw it away, recycle it, burn it, real easy. Okay. I realized that I was hot. I expected to be cold, but I was hot. Okay, I felt hot, almost to the point of sweating. And they came and got me, and I went back to the room with Mom and sat down. And I'm still shaking. I mean, I'm still just involuntarily, okay. And she's like, "It's okay, calm down. It's okay. You're awake." And all of a sudden, I hear this voice, and I knew who it was. It was Talata. Okay, and it says, "Hey, kiddo, how you doing? How are you? Do you feel better now?" And I
Okay,
completely
no. When you say Talata, who do you mean?
the ship.
All
He's
right.
he's an entity that embodies the craft, and he actually becomes it's like his body once he indwells it, and he runs every system on that craft. He literally becomes it. It's somewhat biological. It's created that way, and he can move it, do all kinds of stuff. I mean, every process that his consciousness is capable of doing ran that ship. Okay. Um,
So you remember, meeting him and hearing him and being with him.
yes, I've known
All
him
these.
since I was the same amount of time, Mama. Yeah,
All right.
absolutely. And he said, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, I'm nauseous, I'm queasy, I'm like freaking out because I realized I'm never going to forget him, and I started bawling my guts out at that point. I mean, I went through every emotion you could possibly have. I mean, every single one. And they decided at that moment that I just needed to walk around, just do something with myself other than sit there and be affected by it. I needed to move, touch things, look at things, just get over myself. So the Grace said, let's go for a walk. And I walked the entire craft. I saw everything, every room. I saw my quarters. I saw my bed. I saw my brush that I thought I lost. Okay. I saw everything. They got me something to drink.
Well, can you describe that a little? I mean, you went to your quarters, which was,
Yeah.
describe your quarters and each room they took you in briefly.
It's a room, and it has a bed, like a little twin bed that fit me. Okay. And there was an alcove on the wall, that part where the bed was. The room was roundish. Okay. It was like oblong round. Okay. In other words, the bottom of the wall bent in slightly, and then it went up like that. Okay. I don't know if my room was on the outside walls of the craft. I kind of think it was. And then that's what I was thinking. And because I'm trying to draw a map in my head of everywhere I've been, I'm like remembering everything now. So I'm memorizing. It's my habit to do that. My bed had, it was a solid mattress. That's it, with a base under it. Wasn't wood. And it somehow, it was up in the air, like it was attached somehow. Maybe it was levitating. I don't know. It was probably attached though, because it didn't sway or move around. Okay. And it had a cover on it, and it had some pillows, and it had another cover all folded up at the foot. It had my brush. I had a little side table. My mom used to buy Fuller brushes. I don't know if you know anything about those. The little Fuller brush man would come, and my brush was teak wood. It was really thick, and it was roundish, like this, and it had a little short handle. And I love that brush. I love the bristles in it. And I was devastated when I thought I lost it, and there it was, right there, sitting on that nightstand. I was like, oh my God. And I brushed my hair.
All right. And so you went and saw other rooms as well?
Yes, everything. I saw where we eat. I saw where I go to the bathroom in my room, and I had my own little potty place, and I had my own little sink. And I saw their quarters. They let me look. I went down to the, where they have a nuclear engine in that thing, and they have batteries in there that are huge. Do you know what a disk pack looks like for a computer?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, it's tall and round, and it has many layers to it. Those batteries were kind of sort of like that, but not quite. And they look like batteries. Okay, and there was a top on it, and it had a green tip on it, and it had wires coming out of it, and it was somehow connected to a central spire in the middle of the craft. Every craft has a central spire going through it, a central
I've heard
conduit.
that described many times. Yeah.
Okay, and it was cool as hell. Us, we went back on the second level. Is like where everybody goes to eat and they do things. There's quarters there. That's where my quarter was, on the second level. And the third level is where you fly. Okay, it's what you call the helm. They call it the place of movement. That's how they think. Okay, and they brought me back and they sat me down, and I was doing better. I kept what I drank down and everything. I was like, okay, I'm better. And until I said, let's go for a ride. And I mean, he said it just like that. Let's go for a ride, And I was like, okay, because I knew what that meant. We were going to go somewhere. I just had never been sit in the seat. He told me, sit in the seat. And I'm like looking around going, wait, what? And he said, sit in the seat, and he said, I'm going to let you fly. I was shocked because I do know that everything's telepathic there, that there's no joystick. There's no, when you fly in a small plane, you got the rudder, the 2-foot rudders, and you got the steering thing, which isn't round. It's like, or even a joystick. Okay. And I'm thinking, what? And I was like, well, okay, whatever you say. And he gave me a brief. He handed me a controller that heard me think. It connected to my mind, and it translated my mind to his mind. That was my first true psychic connection to another being. And I had to get used to him for a few minutes before we left, because I was crawling around in his mind, and he was in mine. Okay. I could feel him breathe. Okay. And it took me a moment, and he said, "Okay, we're going to go now." He said, "You're driving, so this is the coordinates." You know, he gave me coordinates. I was used to coordinates from flying airplanes. Okay. And so I associated it that way, and I just pretended that I was in the plane of Earth and ascension, declination, all that stuff. I was like, okay, I can do this. I can fly like that. Okay. And so we went out, and then he said, okay, you're going to do 30 degrees to the left. You're going to course correct. You're going to go 30 degrees higher, 30 degrees lower. I mean, he was just course correcting me all the way through. And I realized he told me we're going to Saturn, and I was half believing him until we saw it. Okay. I mean, he wouldn't lie to me. I knew that, but I went into dead wide open shock, because this is a planet that has more going on than you could possibly ever imagine. It's got many, many moons. It's got rings. And when you look at them, you know, when you look at pictures of Saturn, you think those rings are solid. They are not. Okay. Some of them are ice. Some of them are rocks. Some of them are dust. Some of them are, I mean, it's just all the way through the gamut of what those rings are made out of. And there are distances between them. And then some of the distances are very wide. He says, we're going to fly through one of them. And he showed me which one it was. He gave me directions to get through it. We went very slowly. We approached. I was getting an idea at that moment that we were skiffing. That was the first term I learned, that how they fly. Okay, flying term. And what it means to skiff is you're either flying in a flat plane, you know, flat down. If you skiff and you're coming up to a magnetic resistance, okay, you have to skiff up so that you ride it, and you either go up or down on it or across, okay, depending on the polarity. And he was talking to me. This is the positive. You're going to skiff up. This is a negative. You're going to skiff down. And we went down this way, and then we went straight up, right through that thing. We leveled off, and then boop, we went straight up through that ring in a second. And we got above it, you know, I was like, I want to do this again. And he's like, okay. And then we went straight down. I did that 3 or 4 times because I couldn't get enough. Okay.
All right. So you saw all these. Did you see the different rings? Because I'm some are like fine dust, some are ice, some are big boulders, right?
Some are like, yes, huge. Oh my God. And they're moving, and they work, you know, anything in space, you're in a vacuum, it's weightless. Okay. They don't just stationarily fly through. They rotate and they undulate, and the rings are going like this, but you can see the fluctuations in them. Okay. You can see the ripples, the current of it. Okay. You
So
can't.
are these rings like miles wide then when you're right up next
Yes.
to them?
Yes. They're miles freaking wide. Yeah, they're huge. The rings make the planet like 3 times bigger than it really, you know what I'm saying? It takes up that much space. They're way the hell out
Yeah.
from
So some
around it.
are probably hundreds of miles wide.
Yes. Okay. So we noticed where the moons were. He showed me the moons. And I was shocked to see one of the moons. Uh, it looks like a beat up rock. It's almost flat on one side, okay? Like a square. It looks like a square, a dumpy square, but a square. And it's not going in the same direction as everybody else. It's orbiting backwards the other way. And we chased it for a while, okay? And I'm like, why is that? And he explained to me that when Mars got pelted, that is a remnant of one of the planets that was destroyed and became a moon of Saturn. And I was like, oh, that's just way too cool, you know?
So did they explain where Saturn's rings came from?
They actually, Saturn is a giant planet, okay? And it already had taken on a ton of space dust, and the way it revolves after that accident, it started taking on its gravitational forces, started taking on all that stuff, and it just started revolving around it. There's some sort of pole thing with Saturn as well, where it repels it as well as attracts it, and so the rings developed. Okay.
Oh, interesting. So a lot
They
of
don't
that
free
material.
fall. Yeah, they don't free fall all the way down to the surface of the planet. It just accumulated because of the polarity on that planet. going back and forth.
So a
Yeah.
lot of that material is basically from prior planetary collisions and such.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Very interesting. So you traveled through the rings and visited some of the moons, and
Yeah.
what happened after that?
We backed out from its orbit, being around the rings. You can't really, it's funny when like we can orbit Earth, okay? No problem. Saturn is a giant, you got to really be careful because you can either ascend it and go across this way, or you can go around it, but you have to go in the opposite direction that the rings are going, or that presents a problem because they'll draw you in. And you're in a field and it can slew through anything, but this is such a big magnetic mishmash of magnetism that they don't chance it. So we backed out, we're standing there, I say standing, it just means we're stationary, looking at it, and he's deciding what's coming next. And he said, let's go to the moon. And he knew instantly he's going to get a thrill out of me because, yeah, the moon. I love the moon. I've been studying the moon since I started astronomy.
Okay, wait, but now before you go there, because this is amazing, and I was so delighted to hear you talking about going to Saturn, because that's what Jay Gardner, another contactee from West Virginia, told me.
Yeah.
This is what Ray Fowler described in one of his books. I've heard other contactees say this, and well, to hear you say it in such detail, you being fully conscious at this point, is so amazing. And many, even more common is being taken to the moon, which sounds phantasmagorical, one of your favorite words. But yeah, okay, just go on from there. I just want everyone who's watching to know that this
means a lot.
Amazing.
Yes.
is absolutely something I have heard before, and this is something other people have experienced.
Yeah. Well, I have a personal relationship with this moon. Okay, my dad was already working for NASA then, and he was in the shuttle program, and they get the booster rockets that fall away and come back to Earth, and they reuse them. He helped design. He did. He was one of 5 architects who designed all the chute packing plants for that, and the types of chutes that they used, and the gear that they were packed into in the cone for deployment. These are not cloth chutes. They're metal. They're aluminum, woven aluminum. And I've spent many, 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 many days with my dad going back and forth while he's working on this project. I love the moon. I've been on the base a billion times. I've been up into where his office was a billion times. I've seen, oh my God, we had a satellite dish when the moon landing was one of the first ones ever made, and we were on download. We're uplink, okay.
All right.
To the
so this was really special for you.
Yes. So we did the spirograph thing. We went around it like this, and then like that, and then like that, like in a figure 8.
Okay, wait. Let me just clarify here. So you went from Jupiter directly to the moon and started flying around it?
Yes. And he was giving me a look at all of it. I got to observe the whole moon, back side, front side, top, bottom, all of it. I realized that they do have a base on the backside of the moon. They don't live there 24/7. Okay, a lot of people imagine that they do, but they do not. They come and they go.
All right, so what did it look like?
It's a long building, and it has 2 levels that you can see. One of them protrudes out farther than the others. Like an observatory wing of it. And it is very cool looking, and I don't know why nobody ever saw it. And then it dawned on me later that, oh yes, they did. The astronauts got to go around the moon. They saw the backside of the moon. Okay, in the module, the flight module, they saw it. They knew it was there. They were taking pictures of it. I guarantee they were.
Oh yeah, some of these have been leaked up. There's a lot of photographs and stories about stuff on the moon.
Yeah, there are other prominences that I saw. There were some artifacts of things that they had on the moon that were eons and eons old that they no longer used. Okay, I saw the LEM, the lander. Okay, I saw the flag. I saw the.
Okay, when you say you saw, were you like flying over it?
Yes.
All right.
Went over it. Okay.
And so, are you looking I mean, I'm assuming you're some, 10, 20, 100 miles up. Was it?
No, we were probably 1,000 feet up.
Oh, wow.
We were very close
Okay.
to the bottom. Yeah, we're skimming it. Okay. He didn't pause at all. I mean, we just did the tour, and then he found a place. Like if you're looking at the moon, the rim that you see, we were up on the rim. Okay, and we soft landed, and I was shocked because the Earth was in phase. In other words, the phases of the moon. Well, from the moon, the Earth has phases as well, especially from that part of the moon. And it was in it was a 1/4 phase, and it doesn't go up. Ours kind of, goes like this, and then it works up the side sometimes, depending on where we are. This was the sideways phase, okay? And I was like, oh my God, it was like, oh my God. And
This is when you were actually landed at this point?
yes, yeah. They opened it all up. I mean, I had a 360 view of everything, okay? And
So
we just sitting there.
when you say they opened it up, you mean they turned the walls transparent?
Yes.
Okay.
And I was looking at everything. It dawned on me because I saw patches of the moon that were kind of not all the same color uniform. When you're in space or when you're outside or close up, I don't know how to explain this. You see more color, okay? You can actually see the color of things. And there are some places on the moon that look burnt. There's some places on the moon that kind of look. I live in Georgia, and we got Georgia clay, and it's kind of orangey, brownish orange, burnt orange like iron, isn't it? And there are places I saw, and it dawned on me, why? Why is it like that? What happened? Okay, at 14, I was smart enough to ask that question. And he said the dust that lands on the moon and turns it white looking is from space. That's space dust that accumulates. There's no wind on the moon. It can't blow it around. It just accumulates. The moon does have some magnetism, okay? That's why it has the gravity. You can jump up and down on it, very low gravity. But it attracts dust. Everything does, okay? And if it's electrically charged, it's going to attract dust. And there's dust everywhere in space. I thought that was so damn cool. And it takes a long time for it to accumulate. So, I mean, I realized how that moon had to be eons old as well.
Yeah, I know one of the moon landings, they specifically landed next to one of these colored areas to check it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think everything is related, okay? Our construct is related. Everything has the same elements, just arranged differently, okay? And the moon has a lot of iron on it. It has a lot of elements that Earth has on it. And they've made the decision here that the moon probably came from the Earth, okay? I'm not so sure about that. I'm not going to argue with anybody, but I'm not so sure.
Did the ETs tell you where it came from?
They alluded to it. And no, it did not come from Earth. It was formed the same time our solar system was formed, but it did not come from Earth.
All right. Now, there are people, I'm just going to throw this out there because there's a lot of talk about the moon and what it is. And people are saying, oh, this is an artificial structure and it's hollow.
No, it's got a core. It's got a magnetic core.
All right.
Okay, that's why the magnetism, that's why it has a small field. That's
right.
It has a small atmosphere, very small. I mean, minute, but it's there. Okay, it is a functioning.
Yeah, well, the moon rocks are made largely of oxygen, which sounds crazy, but if you look it up, you will see that that's true.
Yes, well, when
so
you're
there is
hot,
outgassing.
it's the composition of the ore.
So just something I wanted to point out because there was so much talk about the moon and it being hollow.
No, it's a solid object.
Like, no.
It's a solid. It was made during the same time. It came together the same time our solar system came together.
So this spot that you landed at, did it have anything? I mean, was there any reason why you landed at that particular spot?
They just wanted to give me time to have a conversation, and basically, he had my full attention at that moment, and
I bet, yeah.
He wanted to talk to me about I'm coming of age. I'm 14 years old, I should be thinking about what I'm going to do with my life. What do I want to do with my life? The realization of becoming conscious. And he talked to me about the fact that I was never going to forget. My memory was never going to be altered. No more dreaming. This is it. You're on. Okay. And he talked to me about the fact that this meant that I had the opportunity, I was being offered the opportunity to be working with them, and I could choose which way I wanted to go with that. What were my ideas on, what did I want to do? What were my interests? He was feeling me out for it. I think they already knew. Okay.
Well, they were explaining different things that you could do. Is that right?
Yeah, he just asked me like, yeah, I when I was that age, I wanted to be a marine biologist. I wanted to be a zoologist. I wanted to be a nurse. I wanted to be an astronaut. I wanted to be a pilot. I mean, just, um, he said, well, if you could pick one thing, what would it be? What would be your top thing? And I immediately spit out, I want to fly. And he knew exactly what I meant. I want to fly. Okay. And everybody started smiling at me in their heads. And he said, of course you can fly. And I was like, shh. It was like, you just won everything. Okay. This is it. This is the grand freaking prize. Okay. Oh my God. And he said, you're going to have to be tested. He said, I can't promise you outright. You still have to go through some, us checking to see that you're going to do this. And I'm like, okay. And I said, how long will it take? And he said, it might take a few months, and you going back and forth with us and stuff. And so I fixed my face for that. It took until I was 15 years old to be given the go,
Right. So going back to this experience, and so you have this conversation, you decide that you want to learn how to do piloting, and then what happened?
Everybody was really, really happy. Everybody was grinning at me and stuff and saying, oh, good, and they were ecstatic, actually. And Mama was kind of proud, she was sitting there just grinning from ear to freaking ear. Okay. Well, what she calls ears. And they said, okay, well, this is going to be a short night. You need some sleep. And he told me, he said, I am going to explain to you that tonight you must sleep. You must sleep 6 hours. And I think that they gave me a suggestion that I was going to obey, because I actually felt tired at that moment. And they brought me back, got into bed, and I slept solid 6 hours. When I woke up, I just laid there.
Can we back up a second? So
Okay.
Can you describe the process of, leaving the moon and going back to your home?
From Talata, I'm transferred to the 2-seater, the one that picks me up. Okay. Because they were going to come right down to the house. Talata can't come that low to the ground. He would fry the house with radiation. So they brought me back that way.
Via beam of light or ribbon, like you talked about?
Same thing. Brought me out. I came in. One of them came down with me this time. There weren't two. There's just one. And the AI Greys are real, just matter of fact, okay, bye. And they went. No handshakes, no hugs, no love, no nothing. Just, okay, you're good. Bye. And they left. And the room went dark and quiet, and the house was quiet. And I always used to think that I'm waking everybody up, but I wasn't. I mean, I never understood that they were being put into a type of stasis, that they were all being held in unconsciousness what was going on. So they didn't know what was going on. The only thing that was really awake in the house were the animals, and I don't know how they stayed awake, Sometimes my dog was waiting for me, okay? I wasn't allowed to bring my dog until much later because I was too busy doing stuff. But she eventually started coming with me if I wanted her to come.
All right. Yeah. Well, that's really cool. So this is how your experiences began. From this point on, you pretty much became a fully conscious contactee.
Yeah.
And I want to do more episodes with you to explore, what it was like being taken to other planets, and some really interesting episodes with, time, what I guess we would call time travel. and
Yeah.
all the different types of ETs you saw. But I kind of want to wrap this up because we've been going for about an hour.
Okay. I will tell you the last thing that I do remember after I woke up, the very last thing, was that I'm connected to Tolada for life now. I cannot be separated from him. I'm mentally hooked to him. I can call him at any time. And I knew it when I became conscious. Okay.
Yeah, so from that point on, age 14, you were taken, regularly, weekly.
Twice a week, just about. Yeah.
And
literally.
Just taking on many, many adventures, which, you describe in the book, Symmetry, a true UFO adventure. So I basically just wanted to give all the viewers here an introduction to the book, an introduction to Dolly's experiences. And this is how it all started. Age 8 months, being taken repeatedly after that.
10 months. Yeah.
Age 10 months.
Yeah.
And then seeing Mom at age 5 or 6. And then, regular encounters, which we didn't really get into, of, nighttime being taken to apparently another planet. Well, yes, another planet.
Lots of them, yes.
But we'll get into that because I think that would be another really spectacular subject to do a deep dive into. And that would take easily another hour or two easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is basically what I wanted to cover today. So unless you have any final closing thoughts, I think this would be a good place to sort of wrap it up.
Well, I kind of, one of my wishes is that everybody learn how to use their abilities to wake up. And those of you who are contactees are going to experience a lot of what I experienced, okay? Probably very similarly. And all I can tell you is that even though it sounds like it was emotional and all that, in the end, it's the greatest thing that ever happened to me. I can't imagine not being this way at all. It is almost above and beyond my experiences, the joy of my existence, because I know what my existence is. I see it, I feel it, I hear it, and I feel the love of it. I don't know how to explain that any other way. That you wide open to everything. You're gifted from your own ability of what really is happening. It's great.
Very cool. Yeah,
Okay.
I know there are a lot of contactees out there, far more, and I know the people watching this, a lot of you for sure, have had experiences. So, yeah, thanks, Dolly.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate you doing this interview and sharing your story with everyone. I know it takes a lot of courage. I know it's very emotional for you. So, thanks very much.
You're very, very welcome. Thank you. Okay.
All right, guys, that's it for now. Hope you've enjoyed this episode. I really want to thank you for watching. I truly appreciate it. Until next time, keep looking for answers, keep searching for the truth, and most importantly, like I like to say, go ahead, Dolly, say it.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, bye for now, guys.